Hello there you guys, welcome to one of my videos. So I'm going to be giving you my reaction to Ole Gunnar Solsjaer's press conference ahead of our game against RB Leipzig. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock kickoff in the Champions League. Now Scott McTominay was alongside Ole in the press conference, and I'll credit McTominay, he spoke very well. Now, obviously, Donnie Van Der Beek was mentioned. It was obvious that Donnie Van Der Beek was going to be mentioned in the press conference, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has hit back at his critics and insists Donnie Van Der Beek will play a big part this year and he will be an important player. And he said the topic is Donnie Van Der Beek. And he said it's nice for some players and commentators to have a little go. And he was also asked, is he surprised that Donnie Van Der Beek, hasn't played that much? And Solskjaer just basically said, when he has played, he's performed well. But he's not really played, has he? He's not yet made his full debut for the football club. So he does admit there's a midfield dilemma. We paid £40 million for Donnie Van Der Beek from Ajax. He signed a 5-year contract with the football club with an option of a further year. And he currently wears that number 34 shirt. And I don't think he's going to be starting the game tomorrow. I know a lot of Manchester United fans do want him to start. He's recently been criticised as well. Patrice Evra was recently talking about him saying, that he's not needed at the football club and, he's not an urgent signing. And he said that Solskjaer was doing the right thing, keeping him on the bench. So, yeah. I heard him also say in the press conference that Pogba, Matic and I think Van Der Beek are all experienced internationals. This is obviously why they have been left out. And Solskjaer says, he doesn't like, to leave players out. But obviously, he wants to go with a team that will obviously, win us games. Now, near the start of the press conference, Solskjaer got asked to evaluate Fred's season so far. Because Fred has been playing regularly recently. I think he has started our last 3 games. And Ollie said, he's a valuable player. And he's done well as Fred. And he said, his fitness and his sharpness is very important. Fred has been at the football club now for a few years. We paid £52 million for him from Shakhtar Donetsk. And Fred's got a contract with us until 2023. He also spoken about RB Leipzig in the press conference. And he said, they've been a very good team in the last few years. Obviously, Ollie mentioned that they finished 3rd in the Bundesliga last season. They've had a good start to this season. They've won 4 out of their 5 opening games in the Bundesliga. They also got to the Champions League semi-finals last season. And Ollie mentioned that, they've got a very young coach in Julian Nagelsmann. RB Leipzig is the second club in his managerial career because before he was at Leipzig, he was at 1899 Hoffenheim. During his playing career, he played for 1860 Munich. I think at that point he was the captain, and he also played for Augsburg. did Julian Nagelsmann. Ollie also mentioned Dayat Upamecano, who currently plays for Leipzig, one of their centre-halves. He said he's looking forward to seeing him close up tomorrow, because I think he will play tomorrow. But he doesn't obviously talk about other players from other clubs, does he? We scouted Dayat Upamecano as a teenager, and I think he's expected to leave Leipzig next year. He's the player. By the way, we've been given some team news for the game. Solsjaer's confirmed it's more or less the same squad. Obviously, there's a few doubts and knocks. Like he said, obviously Eric Bailly's unavailable. Bailly's out for 3 to 4 weeks with a muscle injury. Solsjaer confirmed that, and that's my element of concern about Eric Bailly. He's too injury prone. Lingard, he's been out with a knock. Rojo and Phil Jones, they're obviously not part of the Champions League squad. So these are the stuff that were mentioned during the press conference. Obviously, Solskjaer said it's very important that we get the 3 points tomorrow. Obviously, he says, we obviously need to get 10 points. Obviously to get into knockout stages of the Champions League. McTominay will definitely start the game tomorrow. I've got to credit McTominay recently. He has performed very, very well. McTominay committed his future at the club, didn't he? After the first lockdown, he signed a 5-year contract with Manchester United, and he has been part of the club for several years. If we beat Leipzig tomorrow, that will be back-to-back wins in the Champions League, because we won our first game in the group against PSG by 2-1, and that was a very, very good performance. Leipzig, they won their first game in the group. They beat Istanbul Başakşehir by 2-0. I presume with obviously the games that are coming up, Ollie obviously will make rotation. He'll obviously rest players. We've got a big game on Sunday, is it, against Arsenal in the league. Then obviously after that it's Istanbul Başakşehir. That's our other opponent in the group stage. And then it's Everton. So games are coming up thick and fast for Manchester United. Do you think Paul Pogba will start tomorrow? Paul Pogba hasn't started any of our last 3 games. He started on the bench. Paul Pogba, don't forget, recently denied that he quit the France national team. And apparently he's going to take legal action. Emmanuel Macron, who's the France president, he was talking about Islam and terrorism and talking about Paul Pogba quitting France. There is a lot of uncertainty regarding Paul Pogba's future. I think he could leave the football club next summer. Obviously, we could cash in. We can cash in, for Paul Pogba next summer, because we triggered that 1-year extension on his contract the other week. So he's under contract with the football club till June 2022, and this got confirmed by Fabrizio Romano. Quite a few weeks ago, Paul Pogba made an admission saying that one day his dream is to join Real Madrid. Last year, he was talking a lot about Real Madrid and Zinedine Zidane, and he said that he wanted to leave Man United because he was seeking for a new challenge. Barcelona a few weeks ago were interested. PSG, I think, are interested. There's obviously been narratives of him possibly going back to Juventus. There is no talks whatsoever over getting Paul Pogba a new long-term contract at the club. Not so long ago, we warned Paul Pogba that we will not break our wage structure to keep him at the club. So we're not willing to pay him what we paid Alexis Sanchez. But I think we are still willing to give him a pay rise. On his current contract at the moment, he's on around 290 grand a week. So as it stands, he's one of the highest paid players. He's the most expensive signing because we paid £89 million for Paul Pogba, didn't we? But he has had a long-running transfer saga. He's made over 100 appearances for us in all competitions since he rejoined, and he's won the Europa League and the League Cup at Man United. His agent Mineraliola said at the beginning of the season, though, that Pogba wants to stay. That was during the summer, and will hold talks over a new contract. Now, I think Alex Telles should be playing tomorrow. If he does, it will be his second appearance for the football club. Telles didn't play any part in the Chelsea game. Surprisingly, because I thought he'd made his Premier League debut against Chelsea. He did play in the PSG game though, and he was very, very impressive on his debut. I think he's going to be a very, very good signing for Man United, is Telles. You know, we paid just over £15 million for him, with add-ons included. And he signed a 4-year contract with the club with an option of a further year. Now, Edinson Cavani, do you think he'll start the game tomorrow? If he does start the game, he'll make his full debut for the football club. You know, some United fans would like to see him start, but I think he will be involved. If he doesn't start, he'll obviously come on. Edinson Cavani was very impressive when he came on against Chelsea. That was his debut for the club. Almost scored with his first touch, didn't he? You know, we got Edinson Cavani on a free transfer. And he signed a 2-year contract with the club worth 220 grand a week. He's our new number 7. He's Edinson Cavani. And I think he'll emulate into the next Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Axel Tuanzebe, I said I'd like to see him start the game tomorrow. Axel Tuanzebe didn't play any part in the Chelsea game, surprisingly, because I thought he would have done, because he put a very, very good performance out against PSG. That game against PSG was his first start for Man United in 10 months. And Solsjaer was talking about Tuanzebe before the Chelsea game, saying that he's challenged Axel Tuanzebe to add consistency to ensure he has a long career at Man United, but obviously he's got to stay injury-free because he's sustained quite a few injuries, as Axel Tuanzebe. Marcus Rashford, do you think he'll start the game? Maybe there's a possibility chance that Rashford could be given a rest. I thought Rashford was very, very impressive in the Chelsea game. You know, don't forget, had 2 very, very good chances. He was also the hero in Paris because he scored late on. That's the second time he scored late on in Paris. And I said Rashford's really, really improved under the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era. Obviously, Rashford had an ankle injury before the start of the season. He had a back injury last season when he was out for a few months. You know, Mason Greenwood, he came on late against Chelsea, but actually, no, didn't start against Chelsea. I think a lot of Man United fans were expecting him to start against Chelsea. Greenwood missed our last 2 games before the Chelsea one, didn't he? Solsjaer, not so long ago, was talking about Mason Greenwood, saying that the English media are starting to go after him, and he defended Mason Greenwood and he blasted our ex-players for criticising him. There was reports coming out not so long ago saying that he'd been warned over his poor timekeeping, but Solskjaer denied that his timekeeping was poor. We had a few issues with Mason Greenwood, was it earlier on in the season, because he got dropped from the England squad a few times. The start of the season, we're giving that number 11 shirt. He's the 4th Man United player to wear the number 11. Anthony Martial, as you all know, he's available to play in this game tomorrow. Obviously didn't play any part in the Chelsea game because Martial's suspended at the moment. He got sent off in our 6-1 defeat to Tottenham. did Anthony Martial. He served 2 games in the league, so he's got 1 game to serve, and then his suspension's up. Martial hasn't enjoyed the best of starts to this season, but I thought he did very, very well last season under Ole, and he did well in his debut season under Louis van Gaal era. Bruno Fernandes, he's probably going to start ahead of Donnie Van Der Beek, isn't he? Because like I said, I don't think Donnie Van Der Beek's going to start. Bruno Fernandes wasn't that good against Chelsea. He did look dangerous when he had the ball, but he was quiet. There's been a couple of games where he has looked a bit off the pace, Bruno Fernandes, but analysing the vast majority of his games, he's been very, very consistent. Bruno Fernandes has been at the football club now around 9 months. You know, won Premier League Player of the Month around 3 times last season, won some Matt Busby Player of the Year award. The vast majority of his goals have come from the penalty spot, Bruno Fernandes is. You know what I mean? Matic, you know, I don't think he'll play any part because, like I've mentioned, Matic has now lost his place in the team. But to be fair, Matic had some good games towards the end of last season. Victor Lindelof, I don't want to see him playing. He's done well recently, Victor Lindelof, but he isn't a world-class centre-half. Obviously, you know, he's not on Harry Maguire's level, is he, Victor Lindelof? Wan-Bissaka, he'll keep his place in the team. Bissaka, to be fair, has done very, very well in our last 3 games, hasn't he? Did well in the Chelsea game, did well in the PSG game, did well in the Newcastle game, scored in the Newcastle game on his 50th appearance. That was his first goal back for Manchester United, by the way, and his first senior goal. This is Wan-Bissaka's 2nd season at the club. Harry Maguire, I think he should play. Against Chelsea wasn't bad. He was lucky not to give a penalty away, though, for pulling Azpilicueta down. It's good that he's rejuvenated himself because Harry Maguire had early season troubles. He had a knock, or did he have a few knocks? He got sent off in England's 1-0 defeat to Denmark, and he had that incident in Greece the other month, didn't he? He's our most expensive. He's the most expensive centre half in the world at the moment, and the 2nd most expensive signing at the club because we got him in a deal worth £80 million. Luke Shaw, he'll play if Solsjaer goes with a 3-5-2. I think Shaw will obviously play as a left centre back, and Tellez will be at wing back. Luke Shaw, I think he's good. My only element of concern about Luke Shaw is that he's injury prone. But prior to that, I think he's done quite well. Luke Shaw's enjoyed a good 6 years or so at Manchester United. David De Gea, he'll keep his place in goal. I said he'll remain our number 1 this season. Will David De Gea? I know I've been critical of David De Gea, but I've given him a lot of credit in the last 3 games because he's really done well. He's made fantastic saves. I think his distribution's been good. Didn't really have many saves to make in the Chelsea game, but I thought against PSG and Newcastle he made some world-class saves, didn't he? You know, David De Gea's been long servant. This is now his 10th season at Manchester United, De Gea's. He's made over 400 appearances for the club in all competitions. 300 odd of those appearances have come in the Premier League. Daniel James, I don't want to see him start. James shouldn't have started against Chelsea, but he did. Mata, I don't think he'll play. To be fair, though, to Juan Mata, he's had a pretty good start to the season. Did well in both of our cup games against Luton and Brighton. Got man of the match for both of them games. He did well in the Newcastle game. He started the Chelsea game, didn't he? Reunited with his former club. The other week, Juan Mata rejected an £18 million a year contract offer to play in Saudi Arabia, didn't he? He doesn't play regularly now, Juan Mata. You know, he's had a good career at Man United. He's enjoyed a good 6 years or so at the club. paid just over £37 million for him from Chelsea back in 2014, didn't we? He has lost that yard of pace, and he is now in his 30s. Odion Ighalo, he's another option, but I don't think Odion Ighalo will play. His loan expires with the football club in January, doesn't it? Because it was just after the first lockdown. We extended his loan until January 2021. He don't get starts now anyway. The main explanation why we brought him in on deadline day in January was to get a cover up for Rashford, because at the time Rashford was out with that back injury. But Ighalo was our top goal scorer in the FA Cup last season, like I mentioned. So yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he approaches this game. I don't want him to go with a 4-2-3-1 because the 4-2-3-1 formation doesn't really seem to suit our standards. And he's gone a lot with that formation since he got appointed in as Man United manager. A few times gone with a 4-3-3 and a few times he has gone with 3 at the back. And one thing about Ole, he's got to improve his decision making, because in a lot of his games at Manchester United, he's been very tactically naive. He really, really has. But Leipzig, good, like I mentioned earlier on, very good team. Got good players. Like I said, they've got that Dani Olmo, good attacking player. They've got Emil Forsberg, good player. Christopher Nkunku, good player. Dayot Upamecano, very, very good. The good news is, from a Man United perspective, Leipzig have got a few players out with injury. I think they've got like Tyler Adams out. Fabrice Hartman's out. Marcel Halstenberg's out. Lukas Klosterman, he's also out. And I think they've got another 1 or 2 players out with injury. By the way, this game tomorrow is the first ever meeting between Manchester United and RB Leipzig. First ever meeting. You know, so far this season, we have played 5 games in the league. We have won 2, lost 2, and drawn 1. Reflecting on that, we're sitting 15th in the Premier League, so we are near the relegation zone. So we haven't ensured the best of starts to this season. Like I've said to you, I want Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's managerial tenure to work out at the football club, because I love him a lot. He's a club legend. But I don't think he's good enough to succeed as a manager, because he hasn't got that proven pedigree as a manager. My perceptions on him when he was a player are totally different to him now as a manager, because I thought as a player he was absolutely exceptional. But, you know, like Solskjaer mentioned today, you know, he didn't start many games as a player. You know, he was a super sub. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has managed nearly 100 games now. Or has he managed 100 games as Man United manager? He's won over 50 games as Manchester United manager. So that is a positive. But with a club of our size, we want to be challenging and winning trophies in that. We obviously haven't won a trophy for over 3 years, and we haven't won a trophy yet under the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era. You know, Ole has been at the football club now almost 2 years. He's got a contract with us until 2022. We appointed Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in December 2018 to replace Mourinho, and he's been permanent Man United manager since March 2019. Obviously, there's been talks of Mauricio Pochettino becoming our next manager if Ole gets the sack. It also said, you know, we was looking at Massimiliano Allegri as an alternative to him. But not all of the blame stems from Ole, does it? Obviously, you know, in the summer transfer window, Ole wasn't backed enough by the board. We've been critical of the board anyway for several years, reflecting how poor our recruitment policy's been. You know, we've also overpaid for players. And none of the managers that we've had since Ferguson retired have been backed enough. Because in that summer transfer window, we missed out on all of Ollie's priority targets, and we missed out on a lot of targets in general, didn't we? Woodward's been at the club since 2012, and the Glazers have been at the football club since 2005. You know what I mean? But Woodward did recently say he's backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in a lengthy statement. And I think next year we'll look to make a couple of more signings. And obviously next year we'll offload more players. I think next year we'll offload Lingard, Rojo, Jones and Romero. We could possibly loan Daniel James out. Brandon Williams, he could also be loaned out because Williams obviously now finding game time very, very difficult. Matic, he could be offloaded next year because, like I said, he don't get in the team now. Pogba could be leaving next summer. You know, could Juan Mata be sold next year? So there you go. But Ole is in his second season as Manchester United manager. I already said to you what would represent a good season. That would be to get in the top 4, top 2 or top 3 if possible, and win a trophy. Obviously, we're not expected to win the title this season, because obviously we're not good enough to win the title yet. Like I've already said, I think we are at least 3 to 4 years off from winning the Premier League title. You know, we haven't won the Premier League since 2013, have we? You know, last season, Solskjaer did well. You know, he got us qualification for the Champions League. Also got us 3rd. That's very, very good. That's the second highest we've finished since the Ferguson era. And he also guided us to 3 semi-finals. So did very, very well. Solskjaer has made good signings. He spent over £200 million since he became Manchester United manager. He's enjoyed 4 transfer windows at the club. In the summer transfer window this year, brought 5 players in. Brought 4 of them players in on deadline day. And the 4 of them players were Tellez, Edison Cavani, Ahmad Traore, he's joined in January, and Facundo Pellistri. I think Ole sees Facundo Pellistri as more of the future. Facundo Pellistri did recently play for the under-23s against Everton. That was his first appearance for the club. We're beating Everton by 2-1. And obviously, Van Der Beek, he was brought in earlier on in the summer transfer window when it was open. We've also seen a lot of players depart the club since Ole got recommended in. So he's got rid of Deadwood. Like I've already said, Chino, there's still Deadwood at the club. I also like the way that Solskjaer has promoted the youth, because a lot of the young players have been given their opportunities, which is very, very good. And we've also had some very, very good periods under the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era, haven't we? But if we did sack Ole, you know, some United fans think it wouldn't really solve a lot, because we're not known as a sacking football club, despite the fact we've sacked 3 managers since the Ferguson era. You know, we sacked Moyes, Louis van Gaal and Jose Mourinho. You know, and let's put into the equation, Solskjaer's inheriting a squad that's worth £700 million, disregard, you know, who he's obviously brought in, because he's inheriting a lot of players here from the Mourinho era, still a couple of players here from the Louis van Gaal era, still 1 player here from the Moyes era, and I think there's only around 2 players here now here from the Sir Alex Ferguson era, isn't there? So, yeah. I said to you as well, didn't I? Man United are looking to get a director of footballing. I think that's one of the structural changes that we need at the football club, is a director of football. It recently said we've been looking at that Louis Campos from Lille. We've been in the process of trying to get a director of footballing since like the Mourinho era. There's been a few former Man United players though linked with that director's role, hasn't there? You know what I mean? So yeah. So anyway guys, that's everything to update you today. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless. See you all again very, very soon.